Hey guys, hope everybody's doing well. I wanted to talk a little bit about Klay Thompson, and as you guys saw, the NBA recently made a top 75 list of greatest players of all time, and he wasn't on it. And I thought that was as great Stephen A. Smith would say, blasphemous, uh, maybe egregious, ridiculous. I don't know. Uh, but I mean, look, Klay Thompson needs to be on that list. Like, I don't understand how you don't put him on this list. Um, I think the best two comparisons on that list are Ray Allen and Reggie Miller. And to be quite frank, like I think like Klay hasn't had as long of a career as those two guys, but in terms of like who the better player out of those three is, like if you're gonna pick one guy for a year for a game, there's no doubt it's Klay Thompson. Like, um, and then you compare him with other players on that list, and I'm just I don't know, not only is he a top 75 in my opinion, he's a top 50 players. Like some of the things that are underrated about Clay's play, I think, is his defense. Like people, for one, he's the second greatest shooter of all time. Like I don't even think that's debatable. Like, I mean, maybe it is, but he's the second, in my opinion, the best shooter of all time. So how that guy doesn't make the top 50 is beyond me. And then, like I was saying, his defense. I mean, he's a great on-ball defender. Now we'll see after he comes back from the injuries, but um, before that, I mean, he would always lock up the best player. It definitely wasn't Steph, locking up the best player on defense. So the other team's best player, like a wing or guard or whatever, it was always Klay who got him. So, so those are two big reasons. And then, like I think people need to start kind of looking at, like, stop looking so much at the statistics, but look so much more about, okay, when this guy's on the court, how much does he make the other four guys better, right? How much does his play contribute to the four other guys being better, and hence the whole unit, the five guys being as good as they can be, right? And when you look at Klay's game, and Steph too, by the way, but Klay's game, he's so good at spreading. I mean, he's such a threat shooting that he just spreads the court like no other. I mean, like his trigger is so quick. He's constantly moving around. He's amazing at coming off screens. He's amazing with that pump fake, one dribble, or even taking it to the hoop, mid range, all that stuff. Like his game is just so complimentary and it is so efficient. Like just with him on the court, you literally tilt the whole defense on one side. And there's kind of two knocks on him. I think that why he didn't make the top 7. One, the talent level he played with, and then two, the fact he's only played 8 seasons. Okay, but let's look at each one of those, right? So the fact he only played 8 seasons. Remember, he's only played 8 seasons, but he's been to 5 NBA Finals and he's won 3 of them, right? And so even though he's only played 8 seasons, and he's played with Kevin Durant, and he's played with Stephen Curry, and he's played with Draymond Green, like all those guys. Just think about the Warriors these past 2 years without Klay Thompson, right? And then think about the Warriors with Klay Thompson and without Kevin Durant. They still made the 3 NBA Finals and they won one, okay? And then they probably would have won a second one if he had stayed healthy versus Toronto, okay? So that's who you're talking about when you talk about Klay Thompson. You're talking about like an amazing shooter, a great defender. When I say amazing shooter, I mean the second best shooter behind Steph Curry all time. That's who you're talking about on defensively. And then defensively, just a great defender. And not only that, like, he makes everybody better. And he's a clutch performer in the playoff. Like, there's a lot of guys that put up stats and just don't do diddly squat in the playoffs. Namely Russell Westbrook, Carmelo Anthony, and James Harden. Like, those are 3 examples of guys. Anthony Davis before his championship run 2 years ago, same thing. So there's Chris Paul, last year's his first NBA Finals, right? Against the Golden State Warriors without Kevin Durant, the Rockets lost to the Warriors. Okay, so how that guy is not a top 50 player or top 75 player, and you got James Harden and Chris Paul on that list when he went head to head against them and beat them. I mean, that's nuts to me. It's just nuts to me. Um, and I just feel like he's always getting disrespected too because, I mean, even a couple of years ago, he wasn't even put on the third All NBA team, and they put Kemba Walker instead of him. Like Kemba, I get that Kemba was having a good year for, I forget it was the Charlotte Bobcats or whoever, but um, like he was averaging like 23 points, but he was on a, he was averaging 23 points on a team that was doing daily squat, barely 500, right? So it's like, again, people need to stop looking at just the statistics. They need to look at, okay, in the playoff, in the key moments, what does this guy do? And then how does he make his other players, teams better? How much better does he make the other players on the team better? And how well does the 5-player unit work when he's on the court, right? Right? Because that's what matters. What matters is that on average, all 5 guys are as good as they can be because that's what's going to make the best team. That's why, I mean, you look at the Spurs, right, with Duncan, Ginobili, and Parker. Okay, Duncan was an amazing talent, but Ginobili and Parker, very good players, but, not, nothing, I mean, absolutely special talent-wise. But they were so complementary. Both were really good on the ball, both are really good passers, and both are really good shooters. Parker wasn't a three-point shooter, but he was a good, 20 feet out. He was automatic from 20 feet out. And so they were all complementary, and that's why they won so many championships. That's why they beat the Miami Heat with Chris Bosh and Dwayne Wade and LeBron. They almost beat him twice, right? That Miami Heat team, LeBron, Dwayne, and Bosh, they should have won all 4, at least 3 out of the 4. Why didn't they? Because talent-wise, they weren't complementary. Because as good as all 3 of those guys are, they have serious limitations. And look, LeBron James is one of the top 5 player, probably top 2 players all time. And then you got, Dwayne Wade's a top 15, top 20. But they were just so similar in their style that it made it really hard to complement each other. And then Chris Bosh was an interior player, not a great shooter. So there was a lot of spacing problems. And it's hard to run a system offense that's not just like ISO or pick and roll where he gets everybody else involved. What ends up happening is you got one guy who has the ball and everybody stands around waiting to shoot threes. And that's just not, you can't rely on that in the NBA playoffs. So, I mean, if I was like anybody, just name a superstar. If there's one guy I'd want to play with, it'd be Klay Thompson. Because it's like, I know I'm going to get my touches, I know I'm going to get my numbers. And on top of that, that guy literally focalizes the whole defense on him. The whole defense tilted his way, and I can do whatever I want in the paint. Because that guy is on the court. That guy is so deadly. You just create off the ball screens for him. And if you don't have 2 defenders right there, with just up on him, you ain't blocking his shot. Because he's 6'6", 6'7", quickest release, and one of the quickest releases in the game. So, I mean, the guy is just, on a basketball team, is just so invaluable. And I just think people just look at statistics. They just look at statistics, totals. I don't even think they look at winning as much as they need to, right? I mean, Gary Payton, I think, won an NBA championship when he was with Miami, right? That was the only time. I mean, guys like that, they just never won a championship. Or they won it as, not a very big contributor. And that's fine. I'm not saying everybody needs to. I mean, I think Karl Malone was a great player. I think Charles Barkley was a great player. All those guys. But I just think Klay Thompson is vastly underrated as a player and his accomplishments in the game. And I think we're putting statistics way too far ahead of other metrics that are more important, which are winning, and what were your contributions to those wins, and how much did you help your teammates be better players. Like when you're a really good player, you shouldn't have to focus on you, because if you're a really good all-around player, you're gonna get yours no matter what. It doesn't matter if you're on the ball, you're off the ball, whatever position you get it in, you're gonna make it work because you're an all-around great basketball player. That's why you look. look at Michael Jordan. His first 4 6 years in the league, he never won anything, and he had amazing statistics. But I mean, one, he didn't have the talent level around him, but also when he did get Scottie Pippen, like the first All-Star he got was Scottie Pippen. When he won because with Phil Jackson coming in and all that, they convinced him to play off the ball more, to run more resistant type offense, where he could let his teammates get his because he was so good that he knew when it came time he was going to take over no matter what. It's just a matter he needed help, those first 3 quarters to get it home to get it close into the home stretch where he could just take it over. And so Michael Jordan's a great example. Some of his best years, I think, were his last 3 years in Chicago because statistically, he wasn't putting up 35 points like he was earlier in his 37 points like he was earlier in his career, 35 points. Even he had a year where he was 33, 8 and 8. Like, he wasn't doing that in the last 3 years, but he's still in big games like against Utah, 45 points out of 86 in Game 6 of the finals, right? 45 points of 87, not of 120, of 87 points, 45. And he would just take over the game at key moments, and he was always a threat because he was always a great jump shooter off the ball. Come off screen, he could post up, he could pass, he could do it all. He didn't have a flaw in his game. Now you might say some guy's better at this than he was, or some guy was better at that, but you'll never find a guy who was as like all around good as Michael Jordan was, because so many players have just weaknesses that he just didn't have in his game. Like Jordan wasn't the best 3-point shooter, but he could knock it down when he needed to. And the 3-point ball wasn't a huge part of the game at that time anyways. So anyways, this whole rant is about, like, we have to look at how we evaluate players to make sure that when you're on top 75 team, it's not just a popularity contest. It's not just, a statistical thing. It's actually, like, how much does your play contribute to winning? That's what matters, is winning. Winning is what matters, and how much does it contribute to it? I'm not saying, like, you have to win, 10 championships to be on that list, but you do have to contribute. Your contributions have to be properly looked at in the right context so that we get a good assessment on whether or not your play led to winning basketball. And a lot of those guys, you look, like, I just don't get how some of those guys, have great regular season statistics, and in the playoffs they never did diddly squat, even though they were on pretty good teams. And they're still top 75, So anyways, look, I just want to give that shout out to my boy Klay. I hope he comes back soon. I hope he comes back healthy and he's the guy he was. And then he plays for, 8 more years and just kills it. Because, I wasn't a Golden State Warriors fan to begin with. I was actually a Sonics fan. They moved. Then I was a Lakers fan because of Kobe. And then Golden State because, of Steph and Klay. And, at this point, because my hometown city, the Sonics, they're no more. I just appreciate greatness, right? And so when I see it, I just want to, give my, tip of the hat to some of the best players to ever play a game. And I just think Klay Thompson is one of those. And what he does is just special. And I think it needs to be recognized. So just wanted to put that little rant out. And, hey, thanks for listening. And hope you guys have, again, great holidays, great time. Everything's good. All right, bye, guys.